All right, I went back to Harbor Freight, and instead of asking a guy for help, I asked a girl, and she took me right to aisle two, just like the other guy said, aisle two, in the by the blue table or something like that. I went back there. You think the little hand crank units would pop out, and well, this girl takes me back, and there's boxes of old-fashioned snakes like my father had. It's a snake in the box, and there's a sting you put on the snake. It's bullshit. You want the crank one with the reservoir, and it's like a funnel. And then when you're done, you pull the snake back into the funnel and run water through the funnel, and it cleans the snake. But this is the auger type. I won't show you. Well, I could show you the whole thing. Let's go this way. See if the camera's. Yeah. In other words, I knew this. This is the size I wanted. Online, it said 21 feet or something. I don't know. I wanted the 6 foot auger, and this is what this is. And the girl took, like I said, she took me in the area, and then I started looking. Is this what you want? Is this what you want? And it was on this uh, back piece of the aisle, and it was just hanging there. I'm like, that's it. So what I did was I watched a lot of videos, and in one video the guy has the toilet bowl with an open view, and he shows the snake going through, but it's not really going where it's supposed to go. But he had the bulb head on it. See, this is a bulb head. A lot of them just come with a straight head. And see what the idea is. If I put this into the toilet and I feel restriction, then I can squirt my stuff in there, let it soak, and then run this through again. I have more options with this. Now, this was $37, which I don't consider that being a lot if I don't have to take the toilet bowl up. But you don't have to worry about the little kid putting a roll of toilet paper down in the toilet, or an army man, or a ball. It's strictly, I know it's just buildup in it. Also, when I do the toilet, I'm going to clean all those little holes. Now, one of you guys put a link for me, and the guy was doing molds. That's not what I'm doing. The stuff I'm removing from my toilet, it's thick, it's minerals, it's like cement. And in the past, I've used a sheet, not sheetrock, a putty knife. It can be used for a putty knife. It's a 1-inch spackling knife, and I sharpened the edge, and I use that to scrape the minerals off the inside of the toilet bowl. I don't have a wife. I have to do all this stuff myself. Now today I did a walk. It's sort of a holiday, so I talked myself into doing a walk. I found out one of the people I knew in this one neighborhood, she sold their house within 20 minutes, so she's got her pods. She now has to load up and get the hell out. But I met this other guy, he's the HOA. He goes, they sold the house in like 20 minutes. I said, that's how they sell here. There are people coming from all over the country to Lancaster area because it's still cheap, and they want to buy a house. They don't want to rent because the rent is here is like almost $2,000, but that's for a house or some type of condo. You're renting a house. That's how they're looking at it. It's not an apartment because a lot of times it has a garage, it has a patio, so they don't want what would be an apartment rent. They want the full, almost 2,000, and that's because I was just looking online the rents around the country, and it's really high here. That's because the people can get back on their feet when they move here. They get some crummy job. They start paying down their bills. They stay for a while, and then they try one more time to go somewhere and find a better job. But this morning I was coming out of the dollar store, and I was talking with a guy, and he's from Maryland, and he started talking to me. I'll tell you any prices, whatever you want to know. And he couldn't believe the taxes. My taxes are 2,000. He thought that was a lot. I said, well, my taxes 17 years ago were 8,500 on my house. He goes, you're kidding me? I said, no, it was a little tiny 50 by 100 lot, and it was $8,500 a year. And I went into other stuff, which I won't go into. But in other words, he goes, well, how do the people make a living here? I said, well, there's a lot of shopping malls. There's a lot of little stores. He goes, that's no money. I said, yeah, but they're poor. They have, in some cases, the parents hand them some extra money. There's a lot going on. That's why I have one neighbor. He came out of bankruptcy. He's acting like a jerk again. He was real nice when he was in bankruptcy, and he had no money. Now he's back to being a jerk again. And someone says to me, I said, yeah, he's got money to spend again, and he'll go by you, make believe he doesn't know you. But it is what it is. But I went and bought this, and I'm hoping this gets me out of the mess. If it doesn't, then I'll call Purple Plumber up and have him change the toilet bowl. It's the house is 30-something years old now, maybe more. That's the original toilet. And I do see them out in the neighborhood in the garbage. So they do go bad. They do get clogged, and and a lot of these fancy cleaners, if you go toilet bowl cleaners, if you go look at the review, the guy actually he called the company up and they told me you have to clean the toilet bowl totally clean first, then use their product, and it'll make it easier the next time. But you got to see the commercial. I won't mention the name of it, but in other words, you just squirt it into the toilet and it self-cleans the toilet. No, it don't. It self-cleans the toilet, sort of, if you've already cleaned it of a previous buildup. So I must leave some type of coating on the toilet bowl, which keeps the minerals in there from sticking to it. But I've been watching these videos, hoping that this one guy goes, oh, all you do is take a rag and soak it in some Pex or what it was, the Perks or whatever I bought, and stick it in there and wait a half hour. Pull it out, it'll be like brand new. No, what I've been seeing is misery, video after video of misery. Toilet bowl isn't the thing you really want to mess with. But it's got my name on it. It's a Bauer, and I don't know if you know this, but Bauer means farmer. I'm a Kleinbauer, which is 100 acres or less in Germany. It's a German word. I don't know where this tool's made. It could be originally the company was Germany. I'm hoping it says on the back here. Now, wherever it says it's from, the lettering gets really small. But they use a name like Bauer on it. Maybe you'll think about Jack Bauer and the TV show 24. But this thing looks pretty sturdy. We'll see how it works, and I'm not doing it today. Sometime next week. Right now I'm doing loads of wash, and I still didn't pick the bark up outside. It got hot. It's not real hot out there. I was just hanging out with a guy at the bus stop, and we were discussing the weather, and I said, right now this isn't a bad day at all. I said, but he says, but it's hot for me. I said, yeah, we're old. When you get older, it's very hard to regulate your temperature. You have to stand in the shade more. You can't run around like you used to run around. I said, it's just we're old. But, and then up comes the kid I saw coming over. He had his bicycle upside down. And then I saw him and I go, wait, I know you. You're the kid that fishes. Yeah. I said, it's me. I said, let me see the bike. What happened was the shifter cable came loose. And I said, look, you just undo this nut, grab it with the pliers right here, pull it, and then retighten the nut. That's all you have to do to fix the bike. Okay. And I said, don't you have a friend that fixes bike? He goes, yeah. I said, well, maybe you might want to let him do it. But yeah, the kid. I was trying. I meant to tell him where a pond was. I forgot. I never made it that far down the road. And I told him about it. And he goes, no. He says, I've been there. There's two kids that fish together, and each one of them hadn't fished a certain area. And then I was talking to the one, and I said, yeah, your other friend knows where that is. So they did finally go to this one park I told them about. I said, when you go in the park, it's the town park. I said, you won't see the water. You have to walk down the back, and there's a steep incline that goes way down, and that's where the water is down below, the Mill Creek. So he says, yeah, him and the kid went over there. The kid showed him where it was. That's where you fish when it gets really hot. And the other kid's got an electric bike. But some of the kids are friendly, and they weren't born here. They were born somewhere else, and they're very nice. The adults are terrible. I walk around the neighborhood and I say hi to everybody, and the adults from other countries are not friendly. I'm going to tell you that right now. I got a lot of experience in that. And it bothers me. Not that they're from another country. It's just that they don't want to even talk to me. That's what bothers me. Because I'm a friendly person and that. But it is what it is. But I went and I sprung $37, and I'll let you know how it works out. You know, I'm not making a video of my dirty toilet. No, I've seen some other people. This is a really dirty toilet. No, you don't know what a dirty toilet is until you got mineral buildup like I have. And like I said, I use a 1-inch spackling knife that has been sharpened. And I get in there and I start scraping. And then you use the gel, the Lysol gel, and back and forth, and then you finally get it. And then at one point in Jersey, I I had some really bad stains, and I used a pumice stone. And I went to my friend's hardware store, and I'm talking to him. He goes, "Pumice stone? I've never had anybody ask me for one of them." I go, you don't have them?" He goes, "No." He goes and finds this bucket, and he puts it on the counter. And there's pumice stones in there. It's like volcanic rock, and it's softer than porcelain. So as you're scrubbing the porcelain and getting the minerals off, the pumice stone is disintegrating, but it doesn't scratch the porcelain. That's the whole idea. That's when you're really, you really neglected the toilet. And I told the guy, I said, I'm so tired of cleaning housework and stuff. When you're single, you want to do stuff, and the house is like an anchor. It's also my neighbor used to call it a sponge. And every time you get a little extra money from something, the house wants something out of you. Like I have a washing machine that's out of balance because it's all worn. And then you saw my shed in the video. The house has to be, you have to sacrifice money towards the house to keep it going. I think that's it. All right, that's it.